Hello and welcome to this evening's live in solidarity and remembrance of the victims of police brutality and the events that are happening currently in Minnesota and all over the world. Big apology once and for all for the delay. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're up and running now. Can just see all of the amazing poets who are joining us. Let's give you guys a wave. Thank you for joining. Sorry about the delay. And yeah, we'll get started. So many of you, so many poets wanted to be involved, so we're going to keep quite a quick pace just because there's so many poems that we want to have heard and so many voices to speak. So I'm just going to get started now, give everyone a little wave. So this live is in solidarity and remembrance of the victims of police brutality and all those fighting systematic racism. The Poets Versus platform does not tolerate racial injustice in any of its forms, including silence. This evening we are here to make noise, so a big thank you to all the poets this evening who at very short notice agreed to perform and show their solidarity. So we believe here at Poets Versus that in order to truly dismantle the murderous system, we need to educate and empower ourselves. We put out a request for books, essays, podcasts, recommendations for books surrounding the racial issue to get a deeper understanding, and we were totally overwhelmed with responses. So I've tried to pick up some of the recommendations I had on my own bookshelves, and we will publish the full list on the Poets Versus platform. Please continue to add and share your book recommendations, your blogs, your essays, and music, advice, and support in the comments. And most importantly, let's show some love for the poets and for each other for coming into this space. As always, Poets Versus provides a safe space and have ensured that all poets have agreed to the code of conduct. And I'm also issuing a trigger warning, as some of the topics addressed may trigger memories or emotions that are upsetting. Many of us may feel uncomfortable, but to move forward, we need to have those uncomfortable conversations. And we need to challenge the power, and we need to challenge privilege. And because of that, without that growth, people will continue to die unnecessarily. The image of George Floyd with his head bowed on the curb, pleading to be allowed to breathe, is one that's not easily forgotten. It has triggered pain, anguish, but also birthed action and unity. So we come together today in his name to unite, educate, show love, and keep pushing forward. The first poet we have to welcome to the space is Nina. And Nina is a South African interdisciplinary spoken word artist, performance artist, and activist. She mainly creates solo performance work addressing an array of subject matter, including race, sexuality, and gender. So let's welcome Nina. Boldy isn't a boy. While we're welcoming Nina to the space, I'd just like to point you all towards Haymarket Books, who are having free downloads of the amazing book, which is called Who Do You Serve, Who Do You Protect? Police Violence and Resistance. So please check out Haymarket Books. Hello, my lovely, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
As well as we can be, I suppose, in these times. So would you like to talk about your poem and why you felt it was necessary to share it with us today?
Yeah, well, I think anyone who's a person of color or from Black heritage, I think, has found the last couple days really difficult. I found it really hard myself to get out of bed and have conversations with people about it. I live in a Black household as well, so we all woke up to the same news, and we're quite a lively house, but the energy was obviously very low. And then after that, I was just kind of involuntary crying, because I guess for me, what I find quite difficult when things like this happen is, and I can't remember who I was thinking about when they said this, who I was reading, but they said that the way that racial trauma is always positioned is within the scope of American history. And the thing is there's racial trauma all the way throughout the whole globe. And a lot of racial trauma in my own country. So it's very near and dear to my heart every time something like this happens. Also because I'm a Black woman, being a Black woman in the society where I'm a minority, I don't know who protects me. And I've seen friends flinch and get afraid when there's police around. I've been in positions where I'm afraid of white authority. So this poem, I think, living in the UK, mustered up so much anger and animosity towards certain political powers who obviously don't care about minority groups, and have made it very clear throughout their whole reign, or their time in power on government. So it's an amalgamation of things that caused me to write this poem, and just obviously seeing a lot of injustice as well, and feeling unprotected in this white society where it's always left to the people of color and the Black people to be the voice, and the educators. And I went through that a really long time being in Glasgow, a very, very white, predominantly white space. And I felt that the only way I could, I guess, like get that into summary was just by writing about it. And it kind of, again, flowed out of me. So yeah, it was called Words and Poetry, which is just about empty words, and having people just talk, but not act on what they say. Which I think is very obviously relevant to what's going on right now. I'm seeing so many people on the internet, like the internet's not a safe place for Black people right now, because people are reposting and throwing out things without trigger warnings, and it's just like, we do not need to be re-traumatized every single time we see a video of somebody being killed who looks like us. And I think there's a danger in that, and there's it's kind of like a trigger happiness about that, which I think people need to be a lot more mindful about. So I guess this poem goes to all the people who are just like not really thinking about what their actions are doing and what their words might mean to others. So yeah, would you like me to?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Share. Okay, so this one's called Words and Poetry. People like to hear nice words. I often think how we'd be much worse off without them. Imagine a life of broken, unstroked egos that couldn't survive without them. In REM, we remember poetry, soothing words that bring us peace as we sleep. Poetry provides a rested state to state everything you want to hear in rhyming symphonies. Your words speak to me like psalms, like the ones that go on and on and on and on, like that hook to the song that you just can't forget the words to. Forget the meaningless words, but how meaningless are they if they truly hook you? When I pulled your arm to walk out of this daze, you told me you were listening to the words in that speech to exactly what they say. These words you claim, hand on heart, you're moved by. It's hard to believe that's true when I haven't seen the slightest twinkle in your eye. I imagine a day where we're also simply mundane. From day to day, words are exactly the same, and art doesn't exist when pleasantries like hello and how are you don't move or shift minds. Yes, I hear you, but I do not want to listen. I imagine a day where words persist because society is too fucked up and numb to actually give a shit. Do I have to stand here and bleed to prove that I actually exist? You see? Because pleasantries go out the window when bigots get voted into presidencies and employ backwards fucked up policies that only aim to protect the 1%. Can't you see, First World, you're governed by wranglers of white supremacy and high society's hypocrisy? It's crazy how you never seem to see or learn in the sea of genetically conditioned tendencies to just not give a fuck as long as it doesn't affect you. We belong to a world where Black mothers are worrying about their nest and contemplating bullet vests for the kids who suckled from their breasts. She's paralyzed from the inside out. A fear that came from generations before her and caused so much doubt. Fuck, I am so sick of niceties and political we could be's because words no longer mean shit to me. I want to see action. I speak of an action, one united, not divided by tractions and fragments of social order, the kind where a Black child, an Asian child, a Muslim child, a Jewish child could still be your daughter based off a common humanity and not stupid borders. This is the same first world order that rather see us all starve than succeed. Can't you see we're not so different, you and me? When you cut me, do I not bleed? Way back, we made proposals about trees and about geography, about human kindness and patience, but where the hell is that gone? That's right, they're all extinct because you said things would change, but they didn't, so the world died. A direct consequence of all of your lies null and void. I imagine a day where words may begin to mean what they say, or the lifeless bodies that inhabit them begin to feel again, or go the fuck away, because what is the point of spearheaded stubbornness to touch and leave our lips only to mean one thing? That the world dies as long as those in power continue to lie. So tell me something real. Tell me something about how you feel, because you owe me nothing, if not at least the truth. I imagine a day where words may begin to weigh a weight, where they may weigh a weight heavier than the sum that you diminish yourself to meet in a capitalistic feat that can only be stroked to a beat as you beat your meat, beat it, break it for all I care. Because in comparison, it doesn't amount to these hearts that ache. These hearts, they break and they are broken. I no longer wish to belong to a world where words mean nothing and I am only your token. Because actions speak louder than words.
Thank you. I think your poem reaches to the almost kind of betrayal that a lot of people in society and community are feeling when there is silence, when there's not action. And 2 or 3 weeks ago, we're hearing there's another hashtag because someone else has been murdered and things don't change.
Yeah, and it's just another day in someone else's life. In a white person's life, it's just another day. But for Black people, it's a reliving of history. Like, I feel like every single time I hear a new person's died, I'm just like, how do I grieve today? Like, how do I have the space in me to grieve some more for another person who looks like me, who could be me, who could be my dad, who could be my brother, who could be my cousin, could be my uncle. It feels like betrayal, and it feels like negligence, and it just feels like desensitization, like the fact that people just really don't care or are using that as a weapon against other Black people. Yeah. The reactionary abuse going on right now as well is real, but what I say is that's why we thought that this was so important, because it is about how can we all come together now. We need to move this forward. We need to take it to action. So we were overwhelmed with poets that wanted to be involved from every sector, from who wanted to be vocal and say we have had enough. Yeah.
So thank you for bringing your fire, and just bringing our energy to make that change. So thank you, Nina.
Thank you for having me, and take care of yourself, because I know this is a hard time for us all.
Likewise. Okay, love and blessings. The next poet who's dedicated, thank you so much, Nina. The next poet who's dedicated their words to this evening is Lilly Driscoll. So I'd like to welcome Lilly Driscoll on to the show. Okay, I'm just adding her now. Lilly Driscoll is an actor, writer, and a poet from London. Some of her poetry has been featured in Zines, Rising, and GOB, and she has had to work in 2 poets anthologies: Poets vs. Homelessness and Poets vs. Gender Inequality. Lilly has 2 plays produced in London: Dirty Promises, which was nominated for an Off-West End Award, and her one-woman show. Good morning, Lilly. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you? Very heavy, you know. It's like it's weird. It's weird for me to be on, and as a white person, I feel really, really aware of, you know, like where I stand, and I've tried to write something in response to that. So I've only written it yesterday. I've still been sort of working on it today, so I don't know it. I've got it in front of me, just so you know.
I'm literally reading off my tablet, and just thank you for being part of this and being so enthusiastic to be part of the change. And that's what we need, this unity right now coming together. So thank you, Lilly.
For sure. You know, we don't need the silence, you know. It's just like every time we see another hashtag, what is that, you know, like it's yeah. So yeah, so I'm going to read the poem for you, because I think it speaks for how I'm feeling at the moment, more than me saying too much about where I'm at. I'm going to try and keep my emotions,
of course,
under wrap, but we'll see what happens. Okay. White people, your silence is perceived as violence. Let's have a little chat, shall we? Because the oppressors, well, they're us. They look like us, resemble our ancestors wherever they might be from. Even if your hands have never touched a weapon, be it a baton or a gun, never sprayed tear gas in the eyes of a man for being born Black. Those of us whose bodies are never put to that test, reduced in a way that deems us less than human. We have never been racially profiled or stopped and searched at any and every given street. We will not know what it's like to be turned down for a job because our names sound too exotic. We will never walk down a road and be taken away and incarcerated, accused of a crime we didn't commit, locked in solitary confinement. released after years of hell until we just can't take anymore. Can't take anymore. We can go jogging, sell CDs, be at home sitting in peace, get pulled over by the police, play with a hairbrush, a toy gun, or even a real one. Bring home Skittles, play loud music, go to the park, stand on our own doorstep and not be at risk of being murdered for simply breathing. Breathing. We will get away alive even when we shoot up a school or a church. Let me say that again. We will get away alive even when we shoot up a school or a church. Listen, I'm not going to take up too much of your time because here I am, white, and I don't want to shine any spotlight on myself during this time. I know my privilege to be able to sit here and shout and not get called angry, but feisty instead. So this is my call to arms. White people, your silence is violence, and there is so much fucking work to be done.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Any words to end on that? Just the sadness of your poem was all the incidences that you're listing where people have died at the hand of police brutality.
Yeah. And if anyone doesn't know, you know, Kylie Broader was who I referenced in being incarcerated, and all of the people that have, you know, been out jogging or simply done normal things that we take for granted, you know, like being at home. And you know, Breonna Taylor, it's just every single case that I hear about, it just doesn't make any sense that this is still happening, and it's been happening for fucking 400 years plus. You know, it just
put it beyond. It's time to up level now, and just thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Love to all of you.
So much love to you as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next poet that we have up is Natalie Anastasia, with her poem coming up next. Thank you. So I'm just gonna add. Thank you, Lily, for having that uncomfortable conversation, the things that need to be said. Okay, there are a couple of people. So Natalie, if you could try with your account again, just because it's showing unable to join. So I will move on to the next poet and then we'll come back. So if you can, please log in again. The next poet that we're going to call on is Louise. So Louise I, also known as Hyper Baloo. Just bringing her up now, or you can add a request to join. There we go. Thank you guys for your patience. Please stay with us.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. Thanks for inviting me to this event. It's really important to be able to do this, so thank you so much for hosting it as well.
Yeah, thank you for such short notice, and do you want to speak a bit about how you're feeling right now, about the poem you're about to do?
Well, this poem I wrote inspired by being asked to come to the event. I feel like I haven't written anything about this sort of thing for ages. I used to write more about it. I don't know why. It caused me to think about it, actually. Why haven't I tried to write about it? And sometimes you feel like you don't have the words, and they're just not coming. So I was surprised that I was able to actually come up with something in the end, and it just came out, actually. So I felt like it needed to happen. But yeah, it's a case of sort of, you know, you're not surprised, because it just happens all the time, and it's just like, again, and it's just like, how many times can you hear the same thing? And that's how I'm just sick and tired. But yeah, and it's like, sometimes it's like you feel like you live in a different reality to other people, the people who perhaps don't think about this. or it's not within their consciousness, and until something like this happens. So I guess I was kind of thinking about that when I wrote this poem. I just start reading it. It's not really, it's quite short, and it's not really got a title, and I kind of feel like maybe that's the right thing for the poem. And it was inspired by George Floyd's last words. So yeah, and it does kind of make reference to what happened with Rashan Charles as well, just as a warning. It's very short.
Okay.
Some air is combustible. It is too blistering. My chest too full of sickness. I cough, but all I bring up are platitudes. A small sound like a mouse under a foot. I thought all air is for everyone. A democratic right like voting or choosing which colour car to like, or which knee to kneel on, or which gun to own. But I am not American. So why do I choke as if I put my hands down my own throat, digging for drugs, digging for God? Are you there? Because miracles perpetrated by a blue-eyed Jesus are not included in equality legislation. Check the small print. What is a hate crime anyway? Hallelujah only seems to go so far. I stopped singing a long time before I was born. I do not have the lung capacity. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. I think it's part of the shocking nature of what we witnessed was that we witnessed a man dying with a knee on his head, begging for breath, and we'd heard those words, "I can't breathe," to not long ago.
Yeah, yeah.
And I also think as well that it's taken that image to wake some people up to the injustice in the world is another aspect which is hard to take. This is a platform for education and sharing and learning and showing love. I know we had a brief conversation earlier about poets you'd recommend to read on the subject of race, to be inspired, to be empowered, and to be educated. Would you like to share any of those?
Yeah, so I can see one here in the comments, Yasmin. Yasmin there. We were part of a writer development program together. She's a great poet. And my friend Stanley as well, and Anastasia, Natalie Anastasia as well. Desiree, who've just seen, join as well. So these are all inspirations and people that I've learned from, and that have supported me as well. And I feel like the poetry community is a very supportive place, and it's a place where people can express themselves. And sometimes I wish that that more people would tune in, you know, when you go to poetry nights like this. I feel like there's a lot that people would learn, actually.
And speaking of that, the poetry community, like I said, we did get a lot of response in terms of book recommendations, and we had quite a few poets, and I know you recommended as well Danen Smith.
Oh yeah, Dane Smith. I don't know if I was saying his name right, but yeah, and yeah, he's actually in Minnesota now, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, his book is amazing. He's just brought out a new book actually as well, Homies, which I haven't read yet, but it's on my list. But with the furlough situation and everything, I haven't been able to buy. But also poets like Terence Hayes, Kai Miller, Jamaican poet. I forgot to mention Birdsbeed as well.
Ramesh Sade, got quite a few that kept on coming up as well. Hanif Abdubarik as well. Patricia Smith. Lots of these were sent in from poetry from Laura. So thank you for shouting those ones out.
Yeah.
Thank you again for sharing. Just because of the time and there's so many poets that are being so amazing and showing the poetry, we're going to keep on moving.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So excellent.
If Natalie is able to join us again, so let's see if Natalie Anastasia. Aha, there we go. Oh, thank you. So there's Jericho Brown. the tradition. Thank you. Please keep in the comments showing everyone. Yeah. Can you see I've joined? Just in reading the comments now. It just shows on my end that it's hard. So please, in the comments, keep on writing down those recommendations for us to share. There's other podcasts as well to mention. Or also Claudia Rankin, which have the book here, An American Lyric. That's it. So please, in the comments, keep on writing down those recommendations. You might need to stop on the computer and then focus on.
Hey. Hi, sorry, it's not working through my laptop for some reason, so I had to try it on my phone at the same time. Thank you very much for having me. I just wanted to say, first of all, that Nina's words really resonated with me. For the last few days, I definitely have felt very much the same, very raw, very emotional, and unable to really explain that to anyone, exactly where that was coming from. It's popped into my head when I've been doing, you know, completely normal things and just kind of thrown me off and thrown off my train of thought. It's a very raw thing to see somebody murdered in that way, and it's just such a reminder that that prejudice is still very alive. So yeah, that's really resonated with me.
And the poem that you're going to share with us today, does it have a title? Or?
Yeah, so the poem I'm going to share is called Squandered Dreams, and hopefully you can see the connection. Count my blessings as I lay my head to rest, thankful for the pillow to which my face is gently pressed. I reflect upon the choices of my day, the fears I evade and the bricks I have laid. As I drift into my sleep, I compose a tribute to the brave. At times we forget. Oh, sorry.
Thank you for sharing with us. And it's been such short notice as well, so thank you.
Yeah, it was. We forget at times it's an easy way we walk, chiseled over decades by those who valued action over talk. For Martin set the bar when he dreamt his dream, and Rosa stood her ground, sitting firmly in her seat. Many unsung heroes set this present scene. It's never easy to swim against the tide. The sea of inequality cannot be crossed in a stride. So do not rest on your laurels. Stand tall to break the fall of yourself and others. Be not complacent about historical victories and their causal relation to current place, status, and dreams. Give thanks to formidable slaves, brave dames that paved the way for you and me. Do you honestly believe we should have earned the right to vote, speak freely, and breathe? A divine right in the mind's eye for which they had to bleed. Today is nothing but mischances, privileged stances, silenced answers, uncast votes, misquotes, and scapegoats, status quo upheld by banknotes. So in the face of injustice, when we fear we stand alone, remember the same makings are in the seedling to the oak, and the brave stand with us when we fly the flag they flown. When handed opportunity, let's not squander what they've gained. Ignorance and apathy should not be the poor man's game. Lest we forget, when they paved the path to our present, they paved it to be boundless, not forsaken or senescent. Take back their squandered dreams.
Wow. Thank you so much. So many of those lines just hit home. Is there one line in that you just want people to remember and at this time? There's so many powerful and kind of uplifting and lines.
I think probably if there's any kind of line that stood to me, it would be give thanks to formidable slaves and brave dames that paved the way. I think in terms of human rights and Black rights, there's a lot of people that choose not to vote, choose not to speak out. And I think it's such an important reminder to people to remember that people literally died and fought for that vote. So to use it and to use that freedom of speech that you have and put it out there, whether you're a poet, whether you're anybody, just really putting your voice out there and not being silenced and not allowing injustices like this to happen, because it won't stop. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Not being silenced, that's the one, isn't it? We will not be silenced through our poetry. Thank you. Okay, thank you. I'm going to keep moving because there's a couple more poets just to keep going. Thank you for sharing it with us. I'm going to move on to the next poet, who is Tim Kylie. So Tim Kylie, I'm just going to add you now. Tim Kylie is a Tower Hamlets Green Party chair and City and East candidate. A full-time barrister, he is currently part of the Metropolitan Police Advisory Council team on the undercover policing inquiry. So just waiting now for him to join us. There we go.
Hello, are you getting me there?
A bit more there.
Okay, yeah, I had to move this thing back just a tiny bit. Okay. Sorry, everybody. Excuse the interference. Right, there we go. That's better. All right. I think I'll just angle this thing up here. Hello there. Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm very well. Thank you very much for having me. It's a huge privilege to be on, adding anything that I can to be useful. Having already heard people speaking so powerfully on this, Nina, Lilly, Louise, Natalie, it's affecting me. I'm sure you can see. It's an enormous thing for anybody to process, and if I can, I'm happy, as I've said, to be of use in some way. If I can do that, then I feel like I've responded as well as I can.
Thank you. I think that one of the things that was so heartbreaking was watching the video of what happened, of the incident that happened in Minnesota, and seeing the bystanders not wanting to help and wanting to intervene, but not being able to.
Yeah. No. It's a really it's a hideous situation to find yourself in, where on the one hand you feel like you can't be passive, you can't be a bystander. On the other hand, the last thing that you want to do is advise somebody to put themselves in a situation where they might be in danger. And so I think it's hugely important for people to understand that being a witness is one of, if not the most important things that you can do in that situation. The police are supposed to be accountable to the public. It is quite right that members of the public should stand by and make sure that you're recording what's going on if you can. I've been seeing the hashtag police the police trending a lot in the last few days from bystanders who are concerned when they see police interactions happening on the street. And it's critically important that people keep doing that, and that they feel the need to keep being active, engaged citizens in that way.
So just to be clear, do citizens have the legal right to film the police?
Yes. It is not, you may sometimes hear people say that they're worried of falling afoul of obstructing a constable and so on. It is not obstructing a constable to film them while they're doing what they do. Okay. Indeed, I think it's important to remember that this is one of the reasons why police officers carry body-worn video cameras about their person. It's supposed to be a tool for gathering evidence, but also to keep them accountable and to make sure that there is a record of what they're doing. So no, you are not committing an offence by taking out a camera and filming a police officer. And I think it's very important that people are aware of that, so that they aren't intimidated in a situation where they want to make sure that they are acting appropriately and making sure that something bad doesn't happen.
Thank you. And as a representative of the Green Party, what's the Green Party's perspective on racial injustice, and how do they try to combat that?
I mean, I don't know if you can see from here, but the T-shirt that I'm wearing is
I just saw it.
Quote from the former Lord Mayor of Sheffield
and former
Green MEP, the Yorkshire Humber, Majid, who's one of our finest and somebody who I think exemplifies the Green position on this. The Greens are committed to racial and social as well as environmental justice. The two can't be separated from each other. The Greens have consistently stood alongside those who want to end immigration detention. We've been with the protesters standing outside Jarl's Wood. It was our policy at the last general election to abolish the Home Office and to replace that outdated and inhumane, brutal institution with something that better serves the needs of the people. As far as we can tell, it exists principally to try and keep people of colour and troublesome migrants out of the United Kingdom, and we need rather less of that. So yes, the Greens, I would hope, stand on a very proud platform of fighting for racial justice.
Thank you. And would you like to share your poem that you're going to be sharing?
Thank you very much. This, I don't know if people remember a few years ago, there was this inspiring photograph of Aisha Evans, a Black Lives Matter organizer in Baton Rouge, who was photographed confronting riot police. The Aisha of this poem is not that Aisha, but hopefully it does carry some of her spirit. Aisha, priestess of Sekhmet, lifts a bowl of spiced rum each morning to the rooftops of Baton Rouge in veneration of the lioness whose breath makes deserts. For this, she wears a conservative ceremonial skirt, floor length, all black, and a headdress of pure sun, its rays in her afro a righteousness which compels her to straighten her back. The sacred texts are set aside for homilies or pleasure. Today, after all, is the feast of Mia Mackenzie, and she will drink dark chocolate and pepper later. She meets the police and cable news photographers who are there for a human interest item gone horribly wrong, and we see that on camera the pavement smokes at her sandal fall. She tells us how, in a world where a twisted rationality is the government's most potent coercive tool, then the surest mode of resistance is just belief, radical belief.
Wow, I like that. Radical belief.
I think it's the thing that'll save us, and I'm glad that I could bring some of that to this evening.
Thank you. I think your poem, the imagery I got instantly was of the CNN reporter.
Oh, Omar Jimenez.
Yeah.
Yes. I just rewatched that a few minutes before coming on. It was absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah.
See, this man patiently explaining to the officers, I'm a CNN reporter, we will go wherever you want us to go, and then be told you're under arrest. May I ask why I'm under arrest? As the cuffs were being put on him. It was ludicrous and horrifying and absurd, and all of the things that should, rightly animate people to get up and do something. But I think it's also important to point out the fact that Omar Jimenez is now back on the streets of Minnesota reporting is in part due to the fact that people were watching. And it is very, very important that people keep doing that and keep holding power accountable.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
No problem. Thank you for having me. It's been a privilege.
Thank you. Going to move on now to the next and final art. Two more poets, let's see. Jayda David. So I'm going to bring on Jayda to perform. So just waiting to connect. Thank you again to all of the poets who brought their words, their poetry, but also their wisdom, their insight, and ways that we can come together and ways that we can learn from each other. So thank you so much. Thank you to all the poets and the community who were forwarding recommendations. Hello. How are you?
Hi. I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Would you like to speak about how you're feeling? Any?
I don't really know how to kind of describe it. It's just a lot of frustration. Obviously, it's just a repetition of the same kind of story. And the thing, it's not necessarily the incidents, that obviously the incidents are frustrating and heartbreaking, but it's also the reactions to them and the narratives that keep are being replayed after them, that kind of is like rubbing salt in the wounds kind of thing. So it's just that just kind of makes it worse. And it's not, a lot of people try to defend these incidents as if they're isolated, but the reaction, other people's reaction and other racist people's reaction to it just shows that they're...
Okay, you've just frozen a minute. So, because I really want to hear what you're saying. So you might have to disconnect if you can hear me. Disconnect and then connect on again. And as you do that, I'll be reading your bio because I want people to know all about you. So Jayda is a young London poet who writes...
Sorry,
hey.
is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Okay. I'm going to finish reading your bio though. Jayda is a young London poet who writes to bring awareness and attention to racism and social issues. In 2018, Jayda was a winner of Poetic Unity's Black British History competition, and she's currently curating a poetry book to showcase working class London.
So this is a... Sorry.
No, do you want to carry on with what you're saying, because it cut out halfway through and I really want to hear what you were...
I can't remember what to say. Yeah, but it just shows that people do have these like collective narratives about racism and are ignorant to the fact that they actually hold these views, or that these views that they have are racist, which I think is the fundamental problem of it. The poem that I have today is what I actually I wrote this several weeks ago with the Ahmaud Arbery shooting, but it's still relevant because a lot of things with this situation as well, I think sometimes we highlight too much on the individual that has been killed.
I agree.
And therefore we can disassociate it with it happening to all Black people, where we need to remember that they were only killed because they were Black, therefore it could happen to any one of us. And yeah, so this is it. It's called Just Saying. Does the blood sacrifice begin as soon as a mother births her brown child onto the earth? Are we only worth the hate we receive? Do they like more to watch us dying, or does the satisfaction come in watching us grieve? Does the hand of God have a secret card up its sleeve? In the white man's deck of cards, there is no heart. Only space to shovel holes in the ground, to fill with bodies painted in black scars. They draw blood from our skin like it's ink for supremacist art. Pools of red to be seen from afar, and instill fear in all Black women and men. Apparently we're hashtagging again. Seems to get us further than praying, and I'm not atheist, but I'm just saying putting our hands together hasn't come to fruition. Just like putting our hands up still leads to being shot with ammunition, and Black Americans put their hands on their hearts and pledge allegiance to a flag that wouldn't wait 52 seconds to put them in a body bag. Maybe it's no longer a time for hands. How many more bodies have to drop before we start to make some stringent plans? I'm talking about full control over our lands. Fuck Obama's yes we can, because we can't pretend that we could ever change the white man. In a world where you can video record what can't be seen by the eye, yet still they try to justify false imprisonments, unlawful killings, modern day lynchings. If you're Black and stopped by the police, you can say goodbye to good innings. Can we say goodbye to this way of living? Because the divide couldn't be any more significant. They see us as second-class citizens at best. At worst, we are game at a shooting range. At worst, we are game at a shooting range. The fruit just gets more and more strange. I wonder if white supremacists add a line to the tally every time we hashtag a name.
Wow. Thank you so much. And again, with the hashtag, I mean, don't know if you want to talk about that, and just the fact of hashtag, this seems too late. That's after someone's already lost their life. And, you know. Yeah,
and it only lasts for a certain amount of time, and then it dies out, and then another incident happens, and then the hashtag starts all over again. And I get that we need to raise awareness of these things that are happening, but also we're mostly only raising awareness within our own like communities or people. Like if I post something on my Instagram, it's most likely that people who also share the same ideas as me are seeing it. So it's not reaching people that actually need to see it. And I do kind of think that like racism isn't the Black community's problem. We're not racist. It's not something that we need to do to change. Like, so there's no point kind of us having these conversations within our own communities, because we know that racism is wrong. We know what's happening to to people of color. So there's no point us having these conversations within ourselves. We need to be taking these conversations to other places. But most importantly, racist people need to kind of, or even people that don't even realize they're racist, need to come to some sort of realization of their actions and their mentalities, and then bring the conversation to us, and maybe we can educate them on what they need to do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That's what, yeah. So thank you for sharing your poetry.
Thank you.
Never. Bye. We have a couple of minutes left before we need to end this. But before I do end it, I really want to say just thank you to all of the poets, like I said, who came together to share through the art, to learn through the art, and to have those uncomfortable conversations so that we can grow and move forward. So thank you so much. The last poet I'm going to call to bring some healing to the situation is Jessica Horn. So I'm just going to add her now. Here we go. So just as so many of the poets have said, it's important we do take that time for ourselves and to make sure that we are healing and that we are protecting ourselves and our mental health. And thank you again. I can see all of these comments of brilliant books and recommendations, so please keep them coming, because like I said, this is thank you very much, Jessica, for joining us. How are you? Thank you for the Freedom Fund to donate. So if you do want to help, find out, do your research, find which charities that you can support, which actually helps families and help support work on the ground, activism on the ground. So thank you for, I can't see who's posted that, but thank you. Hello, Jessica, can you hear us?
Hey, I can hear you.
How are you, my love?
I'm good, I'm all right. Yeah.
So do you want to talk about the situation? What would you like to share with us? Tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
Sure, so my name's Jessica. I'm a Pan-Africanist feminist. I've been involved in community struggle as well as working in the field of women's rights and social transformation for a long time, for about 20 years. The issue of police brutality first really came to my understanding when I was studying as an undergrad in the States. That was when there was that horrendous attack on Abner Louima by the NYPD, and there was just a lot of terrible things happening in this. There always are a lot of terrible things happening in the States, but you know, the activism against it has been going on for generations too. And I feel like even if these instances keep occurring, it doesn't mean that our activism means nothing. In fact, the opposite. I think 50 years ago, something like this could have happened and fewer people would have turned out to protest. But like the level of outrage and the scale of outrage and the geography of that outrage, I mean, most of my colleagues are in Ghana and people are talking about it there. Like everybody across the diaspora is really thinking about this. And I always reflect on, I'm in London now, so I always reflect on the fact that there is also an issue of, you know, in particular deaths in custody in the UK. It tends to be less that sort of incidents, like we see that in public, but it's more deaths in custody. This country also has its own legacy of police brutality. And, you know, the police do that because they have ultimate power from the state to harm. They're actually one of the few entities in the state that has the official right to harm, you know, if they deem it to be necessary. So I feel like there's an overall consciousness that we need to continue. The diasporic connection is beautiful in our resistance. And to always just make sure that as much as we offer solidarity to people who are far from us, we also really think about the political issues and the solidarity that's needed right where we are. So I feel like for me, it always reminds me that there's work to do out there, but also there's so much work to do right here. And to keep, you know, use it as an opportunity to also raise those broader systemic conversations about the racism that exists in your community too. But like I said, I look at people rising up and I think good. I think good. You know, systems of power need to be challenged.
Yes.
And you know, and people are rising up in many different ways too. Like the media loves to show burning and looting and such, but that's not how everybody's actually resisting at all. There are so many forms of resistance, and I think we need to remember that as well. You know, but the uprising is amazing, and the solidarity is incredible. And like I said, it's only like that because people have worked for generations, to build, you know, an understanding of the fact that that system is wrong, and the level of solidarity that exists to see people who want to get it right. So for me, that's the little piece of joy I found in the midst of, in the midst of a lot of sadness.
Thank you. And on that beautiful high vibration, please could you share your poem with us?
Sure. So just a little thing. I mean, I don't normally write rhyming poetry, to be honest. It's a very short, little, simple ditty, partly because I've been spending a lot of time gardening in this whole stay-at-home vibe. And gardening teaches you a lot about the cycle of life. But also because a friend of mine posted on Instagram an image of herself as a child, a young Black girl, and just saying that, you know, basically my history means that I know very well what it means to be violated. I don't need to see it coming across my screen constantly. She was so upset by all of the kind of replaying of the murder. It really affected her. And she just said, you know, I don't need reminders, basically, of my vulnerability, or, you know. And I just thought, oh, you know, we need beauty. So it's a very little, tiny little thing. It's just a little thing. But I will say it, you know. So it goes a little something like this. Water, water our soil, tend the weeds, plant new seeds, and shield those seedlings from the storm. We are going to be all right if we hold each other tight. We resist by flourishing.
There is no more to say. I just thank you, thank you for ending us on such a high and noble reminder. We will flourish and we will continue. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you too, sis, for holding space in such a beautiful way.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. All blessings.
God bless and thank you. I'd like to say thank you so much to all of the poets, as I've said, for joining us, and thank you for viewing and learning. Please continue to share. Let's come together and community build. Inspired by Jessica. So thank you so much. Thank you as well to Julia, who has really organised this and put this together in less than 24 hours. So thank you to everyone being involved. And yeah, thank you. Stay strong and sending love to everyone and all the poets. Thank you.
Well, thanks.